Okay, let's just dive right in. We've gone through stacks of uh, really dense legal documents and financial reports, so you don't have to.
Right. Who has the time?
Exactly. We're going to unpack that, that surprisingly stressful collision of marriage and business, especially for South African entrepreneurs. If you own a company, if you're building wealth, or, hey, even if you're just about to get married, this deep dive is your shortcut to real financial security.
And our mission for you today is laser focused. We want to turn all this complexity into certainty. We're going to show you how wealthy families and, frankly, smart business owners legally insulate their assets. We call it the asset protection fortress. And we'll be breaking down the core strategies that protect everything: the assets, the business, your partners, and your family's future.
Yeah, because the information's out there, but it's scattered. It's confusing.
Hmm.
You don't need to become a trust lawyer overnight. You just need to understand what actually matters.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here to do. So let's jump straight in. What is the one source of risk that most business owners just completely miss?
Okay, so they assume their company structure, their Pliddy LTD, protects them. And they think, well, I have a happy, stable marriage, so I don't need a prenup or any of these complicated things.
Right, that seems logical.
It does, but what the sources make crystal clear is that the risk isn't about the health of your relationship. It's about the legal contract you sign, sometimes without even realizing it, on your wedding day.
So it's a legal issue, not a personal one.
Exactly. Most entrepreneurs, they're focused on operational risk, competitors, cash flow.
Those day-to-day fires.
Right. But personal legal risk, especially for marriage, is like a silent killer of wealth. It's this unexpected exposure, and it's there even in the happiest of marriages because legally, you're often seen as one single entity.
Okay, so break that down for me. If I start a business and I'm married, how does my spouse unintentionally get ownership rights? I always thought my company shares were totally separate.
That is the number one critical misunderstanding. Let's take the worst case scenario. You get married in community of property. A lot of people still do this. Often it's the default if you don't sign anything else.
Okay.
The second that marriage is registered, every single asset you both have or will ever have is co-owned. 50-50. It happens automatically by law.
So if I start a business the year after I get married,
50% of those shares, 50% of that business's value immediately belongs to your spouse. It doesn't matter if they've never even stepped foot in the office.
wow, that's astonishing. So it's not just your house at risk from a personal liability, it's your entire business.
Precisely. And the risk flows both ways. Let's say you sign a personal guarantee that goes wrong. That can pull the business down. But what if your spouse runs into trouble? Maybe they inherit a surprise debt or face a claim.
Then their creditors can come after my business.
They can come after your shared estate, which now includes half the business. Your assets are immediately exposed to their problems.
So this idea of having a separate business entity is, well, it's kind of a fiction when it comes to marital law.
It really is. Without that proper insulation, any personal crisis,
Right.
an unexpected death, for instance, can paralyze the company. Assets get tied up in estate administration for years sometimes. The whole thing can fall apart even if the business itself is successful.
Okay, so that planning up front is just non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. To build that legal firewall, we need to quickly touch on the 3 South African marital systems.
Let's do a quick lightning round on the risk profiles.
Okay. Number 1, as we said. In community of property, highest risk. Everything is shared assets and debts. For an entrepreneur, this is priority number 1 to avoid. It is the absolute opposite of asset protection.
Got it. So that leaves the out-of-community options.
Right. Option 2, out of community property without accrual. This is generally seen as the safest baseline. What's yours is yours, what's theirs is theirs. Great protection against your spouse's creditors.
How about here, but coming?
But, and this is so important, it's still not enough protection if the assets are in your personal name. If your business gets sued directly or you've signed surety, your personal assets are still exposed.
So even when you think you're safe, your own name is the weak point.
Absolutely. Which brings us to number 3, out of community of property with accrual. This is the medium risk one and where it gets really complex.
Okay.
Here, your spouse is entitled to half of the growth of your combined estates during the marriage.
That sounds fair in theory, but with a fast-growing private business, I mean, how do you even calculate that?
It becomes a nightmare, a financially ruinous nightmare. If the marriage ends, the business has to be valued. This can mean expensive court-appointed experts. And that claim has to be paid out in cash.
Cash. So you might have to sell off parts of the business or take on massive debt just to pay out your spouse.
You might have to liquidate everything. We've seen sources that show it forces this incredibly painful public disruption of a company's finances.
And this is where it gets really interesting for me. The forgotten party in all of this. Your business partners.
Yes.
Most people think their marriage contract is a private thing, but your choice can completely cripple a partnership.
It absolutely can. Imagine you've built a company with two partners. You die suddenly. You were married in community of property. Now, your half of the business shares are legally co-owned by your surviving spouse.
Who might know nothing about the business.
Or have zero interest. But they're a co-owner now, they're entitled to dividends, maybe even voting rights. It can cause chaos.
And even with the accrual system, a divorce could trigger a crisis for the partners too, right?
A massive crisis. Because of that valuation and the cash payout, the divorce can freeze critical business decisions while it's all being argued over. Your partners could be forced to buy out the spouse's claim at the worst possible time.
So this planning isn't just about you. It protects the business, the employees, the investors, the whole legacy.
Exactly. It's about protecting the entire ecosystem you've built.
Okay, so we've established that even the best prenup isn't a silver bullet against, say, business litigation. So how do wealthy South Africans legally protect their most valuable assets? The properties, the company shares, the investments.
Well, the blueprint we see again and again is consistent. They make sure those high-value assets are not held in their personal name.
They use a trust.
That's the foundation of the legal fortress. A trust is a legal arrangement where you transfer assets to a board of trustees. They manage those assets strictly for the benefit of your chosen beneficiaries. The magic is in that separation of ownership. A trust cannot be sued, it cannot get divorced, and it does not die.
Okay, that phrase, a trust cannot be sued, sounds almost too good to be true. I mean, surely people try to challenge them all the time. How do you make sure the structure is actually immune?
That is a crucial question. The statement is accurate because a trust isn't a legal person, like a company. But you're right, creditors and SARs will absolutely challenge a trust if they think it's a sham.
A sham how?
They'll use what's called the alter ego test. If you, the founder, are still treating the trust's assets like your own personal piggy bank, using the trust bank card for groceries, making all decisions alone.
So if you haven't really given up control.
Exactly. A court can rule that the trust is invalid, that it's just your alter ego, and poof, all those assets fall right back into your personal estate and the protection is gone.
So the key is genuinely giving up legal ownership, even if you stay involved as a trustee.
Precisely. The structure has to be real. It has to be managed correctly. That's why in South Africa, having at least one independent trustee is so critical. They ensure the trust is managed impartially, according to the rules in the trust deed, not just your whims.
That's a huge clarification. What about tax? That's the other thing that scares people off. You always hear that trusts are taxed at really high rates.
They can be. SARS taxes trusts quite aggressively on any income that's left inside the trust to stop people from just using them as tax shelters. Right now, any retained income is taxed at a flat 45%.
Ouch. 45%.
And capital gains tax is also higher, effectively 36%.
How do people get around that? I mean, how do you get the protection without the punitive tax rate?
The key is distribution. A well-managed trust doesn't hold on to its income. It distributes the income and capital gains to the beneficiaries within that same tax year.
So it flows through the trust.
It flows through, and once that income is in the hands of a beneficiary, say one of your children, it's taxed at their personal marginal tax rate, which is often much, much lower than 45%.
Right.
A good structure is designed for compliance and effective distribution, not for hoarding income.
Okay, so we've got the risks, the limits of a prenup, and the trust as the foundation. Let's put it all together.
Yeah.
How do you combine these tools to create what you call the asset protection fortress?
It's a powerful three-part formula. You really need all three layers for maximum security.
Layer one.
Layer one is the prenup. It protects the marriage itself, brings clarity, and, crucially, stops any accidental transfer of business ownership.
Okay. Layer two is the trust. That's the foundation. It protects the assets themselves, ring-fencing them from your personal risk.
And then layer three, and this is the really sophisticated part, is the company structure. This is where we see the segregation of risk strategy.
What does that mean in practice?
It means the trust doesn't just own the business directly. The trust owns the shares of an asset holding company. This company owns all the valuable stuff, the buildings, the intellectual property, the machinery, the big investments.
And that company doesn't actually do any business.
It does nothing. It just holds valuable assets. All the daily risk, the contracts, the employees, the potential lawsuits, that's all taken on by a completely separate operating company.
Okay, let me try an analogy. The operating company is like the race car. It's out on the track, taking all the speed, all the risk, it could crash and burn.
Perfect analogy.
And the asset holding company is the secure garage. It holds the valuable tools, the spare parts, the real wealth, and it never even goes on the track.
That's it, exactly. If the operating company, the race car, gets sued and liquidated, all the core family wealth is still safe and sound inside the asset holding company, which is itself owned and protected by the trust.
It really is the ultimate protection. It shields the home, the savings, the business assets, and critically, your business partners from the fallout of your personal life.
And we have to just hammer this point home.
Yeah.
You have to do this before you need it. Once the lawsuit has been filed, once the SARS audit begins, once you're facing insolvency, it is legally too late to move your assets. The time to build the fortress is when the sea is calm.
Right. The principles are clear, but I imagine the implementation, drafting the right trust deed, making sure it's SARS compliant, actually managing the trustees, that's where it gets complex.
Absolutely. That's where the rubber meets the road. And this is where a dedicated trust consultant becomes indispensable. Their mission isn't just to set something up, it's educational. They give you clear, actionable advice tailored to you.
They translate all the jargon.
They translate the jargon so you feel empowered, not confused. They help you avoid the common pitfalls.
What are those pitfalls? I'm guessing people try to do this with off-the-shelf documents.
All the time. And the mistakes are, well, they can be fatal to the structure. Things like not appointing a truly independent trustee or failing to hold proper trustee meetings and keep minutes. Simple admin things that make the trust look like that alter ego we talked about. A good consultant prevents those errors.
Now, our research pointed us towards Lumke Sturman, who is a trust consultant focused specifically on helping South African business owners. What's her approach?
Lumke's whole mission is to empower entrepreneurs to reduce that risk and secure their legacy. She focuses heavily on that separation of ownership from liability. She helps clients navigate the complex tax rules, ensures the trust is set up to be legally robust, and provides that ongoing support to keep the fortress strong year after year.
So it's not a one-and-done setup, it's an ongoing relationship.
It has to be. They offer custom structures, but also things like annual fortress reviews. Your life changes, assets change, tax laws change. A review makes sure your structure is still working for you. They also help with succession planning so the business can continue smoothly if something happens to you.
That initial clarity seems priceless. Okay, let's bring it all together.
The final thought synthesis is this. Putting a trust, a prenup, and a proper company structure in place is not about distrusting your spouse or your partners. It's about responsibility. It's good governance. Smart entrepreneurs protect their wealth, wise couples protect each other, and wealthy families protect future generations.
So the core takeaway is, take action. Whether you're getting married or you're already years into a successful business, you can start building your legal fortress now. If you're ready to explore what your fortress could look like, you can visit trust consultant Lumke Sturman's website. That website is, and I'll spell it out, www.lumkasturmandscom.
And just one final thought to leave you with. Creating wealth is hard, but preserving it is often harder. It requires more foresight. A trust is one of the best tools ever designed for preserving wealth across generations. By structuring correctly today, you avoid the crippling costs, the delays, and the public drama of a deceased estate tomorrow. You secure the future by acting now.